What up, students? Let's dive in. This is the construction assignment for the week, the second truss assignment. We're going to go from the basic king post, which we made here, and we're going to alter that, which turns it into a queen post, which will then turn into a Howe, which will then turn into a double Howe truss. Okay, pretty straightforward to start adding in pieces for these designs, and that's not always the case. These were hand-picked, these four, because they all build into one another with additional pieces. So it should be pretty easy. It's also a good practice of your copying and moving and tools like that, which you really need to be good at. You got to be experienced with those. It's going to make your life a lot easier. So let's dive in. We're going to start from scratch, and I've got my tools a little messed up as always. So let's fix that. Okay. Let's start with a king post. Okay. We're going to build a king post truss, and that's just basically a triangle on top of that bottom. And remember this dark brown? That's actually a roof joist. We're just building the light color on top of it. Okay, I'm back. I had to plug in my charger cord. Now, I did not put dimensions on here, but this is the same as the first truss assignment, which means it's 5 foot. I'll just put it on when I build it. It should be 5 foot from the bottom up to the peak of the truss, and then 5 foot from that center point out to the edge, okay? And it's just a big triangle on here. Notice that the bottom is a single piece, and then each of the two sides is a single piece, and then the center piece of the truss is on top of this bottom, and it cuts off. It doesn't go in between those two upper ones. All right, so let's jump to it. Start with the bottom roof joist. Okay, and I'm going to draw it on end, which means I'm going to go upward with it. It should be red like that. Okay, and we want half by 1.5. We can see it didn't go on end like I want. Easy fix. I'm going to rotate it, or you can use the move key. And move actually doesn't give us the little red arrows. So I'm going to go to rotate, which is the Q in the shortcut menu. See how that changed? We need it to be red, yes. Nope, we want the red corner. Give me red. There we go. Red, and then grab an edge, and then just stand it up. There we go. Now we'll push pull it. Now, since these guys are 10 feet long, or excuse me, 5 feet, the truss is 5 feet from center to edge. That makes 10 feet across. So we're going to push pull that guy, make him 10 feet. Don't forget to group it. And then at this point, we're just going to copy him for all the trusses. So that's the only roof joist we need to make. And we'll just make him dark so we remember he's not part of our trusses. And there we go. Okay, so now you're really using the line tool a lot, okay? So we're going to start with probably finding the center point, and we're going to draw a line right in the center there, and it'll tell you when you find center. There it is, midpoint, and then make sure it's blue going straight up, and remember we want 5 feet to the very top. So there's our 5 foot, and then we can just finish making the triangle. Now notice, if you're not careful, you're going to connect to the back edge of that 2x4 instead of the front edge, and then you're not going to have flat planes. Things are not going to work. Things aren't going to fill in, and it's going to be frustrating. Now I'm going to build, it really doesn't matter. The first one I built half and then flipped it. But honestly, it's probably the same thing either way with something this simple. Now we've got our basic triangle. So let's run some guides. So I'm going to start with a guide here at the bottom. And since that 2x4 is going, it's 3.5 on end. There's our line for that. So now I can just run that all the way across. And then just finish connecting it. I'm just running all the way around. So we've got that guy. And if I erase that a little bit, now we've got that bottom 2x4. Now, notice here, he should be cut off on the inside. So we're going to make our next guide, and we're going to go. Now notice, The purple says we're perpendicular, or excuse me, parallel to. So the little line we're drawing is perpendicular to that edge. It's another line running parallel on the face. That's what we want. So you want it to be purple to make sure it's going the right direction. And again, lots of 3.5 because that's our line. Now, instead of starting here, we could start here, and that would leave the bottom edge as the base of the truss. We don't. We want to go from here, and we'll erase the other line. We'll go all the way up for now because you can always erase it later. Okay, so we'll erase this guy, and I'm looking at this guy as my example, so we'll erase that. So now we've got our bottom 2x4 and then our side 2x4. We'll just do the same thing on the other edge. And again, it's purple, 3.5. There you go. Draw the line. Okay, so at this point, I'll erase this piece here. So notice we've got our 2x4 on the bottom. We've got both of our two side piece 2x4s, and then at the top, we've got to erase some stuff. And they're going to come up to that peak right there. So we're going to erase this guy and this guy. And there we go. We've just got the two meeting at the top. Now, this has to be split into a 2x4. That line is right down the middle of the 2x4 that makes the truss. So when you do your guides, you can't do 3.5. You do half of a 3.5, which we talked about in the last video. Do you remember what half of 3.5 is? Think about that. Remember, we do half of the 3, then we take half of the remaining half and add those together. Half of 3, 1.5. Half of the remaining half's a quarter, so that 1.5 plus a quarter is 1 3/4. So there we go. Now we can either do another 1 3/4 from the middle, or we can do a full 3.5 from the outside edge. Either way, will give us the other guide. Finish those lines, and we're not going to go down here because we want to leave that a solid 2x4, and we're not going to go above that. I'm just going to trace around here. Probably didn't need to because it's all just a face right now. And erase the middle. Okay, so that's what you want. And if we turn off our guides, it looks a bit cleaner. There you go. If we delete out these two, we've got our basic king truss. We just need to add thickness to this guy. Okay, he's still flat. So get to where we can see that edge. I like to do push-pull from the front. And it's just not letting me. Sometimes my rotate tool is a pain in the butt. So we'll start with the bottom. I can't see. Now notice it's taking away the front face. Easy fix, hit Option or Control. It's Option. Now it's there. I have to rotate around because I can't see the outside edge. And there we go. I think I probably will go from the back to push-pull these, but I have to look and make sure the faces are staying there. And just do all 4 of your pieces. Just make sure that the faces are staying there. See, that one's not, so I had to fix it. But now I can see the outside. There you go. And it won't let me get to that edge. There we go. Now, don't worry about the colors. We're just going to paint it all wood texture anyway. But there you go. That's a king post. You just got the simple triangles. Okay? Just a simple triangle and one going up the middle. Go ahead and group the whole thing. Don't forget. Group it. Texture it. We're done. Okay? There's our king post. King post truss just like the original. We could just get rid of the original. And there you go. There's your king post. We'll just build from here. Now, these do not need to be created from scratch. Do not waste your time. Take him, grab this guy, and I'm just going to do a move on these two. Move them over here. And again, if we look behind, we're just going to take the king and turn it into a queen. All you need to do is add these diagonals here. So if we're going to go in and add those diagonals, we're going to go to the midpoint. So start a line. And again, we just need to find, there it is. There's the midpoint on that line. And just right to that front corner. And we're only going to do it on one side, then we'll just copy it over for each of these from here on out. And all we need to do is add that one 2x4. Okay. Now notice this is the middle of that 2x4. It's going right into the corner. So you don't want to do 3.5 because then you'd have it offset and it wouldn't be right in the corner. So do again half of the 2x4, which is 1 3/4. You're probably going to memorize that number pretty quickly. 1 3/4 is the half of your 2x4. Okay, my guide disappeared. What happened? I need to turn my guides back on. They just get a little messy. They get everywhere. And then from here, you can either draw the full or draw another one from the other side. And I don't know why I'm not seeing the guide. Let's try that again. There we go. A purple, then you know you're heading in the right direction. Now you need those extra lines. You're going to connect and just draw all the way around. You're outlining that whole 2x4. And once you do that, it'll all appear. Okay, and if it's not, just there's somewhere you missed a line. Just go back and redraw it. Okay, erase the center. There it is. Okay, really easy. Push, pull, give them some thickness. Any edge that goes there is fine. Now, I'm going to group this guy because I'm going to move him. We're going to ungroup it again in a second, but I'm going to group it to move it. I'm just going to grab the corner, move it over. Don't forget to copy it. Now, let's get rid of guides. They're super annoying when you don't need them. Now notice that's obviously a problem. So we have to rotate this guy, okay? Easiest way I think is just use the move. And then you can just click any one of these red pluses. You just do a 45-degree rotate and boom, there you go. Or is that 90? It's probably 90. Now, notice that these guys are grouped and the rest of your truss is grouped. Rather than have individual pieces, I just want all of this to be one group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explode the group of that guy. I'm going to explode that group. And you have to make sure any groups you explode, whatever they're touching that also is not a group, it'll merge together permanently. So for instance, if I forgot to group this roof joist and then I ungroup the rest of this, it's all going to merge into one piece. So I'd want to make sure that guy stays grouped. He is. So now I'm going to ungroup. I'm going to explode the rest of the truss. So now the whole truss is exploded. So when I triple click, it grabs everything here and I can regroup it all as one big item. And now I can texture it. And anywhere I texture it, we'll color the whole thing. So you're good to go. So there you go. Look at that. We now have a queen. We don't need that queen. We've got our own queen. And there you go. So you've got your king post and we've modified it to queen. At this point, a lot of you are probably saying, Mr. A, I don't need you anymore. Well, you know what? That hurts my feelings. Okay, notice when I try to grab this top left, it doesn't grab. Remember, going top left to bottom right, that's going to only grab what's fully inside. If you go bottom right to upper left, anything it's touching, it'll select. Okay, so I'm going to grab both of those, and I'm just going to do another move copy. And now we're going to make a Howe truss. And notice all we're doing now is adding a vertical beam right into these corners to reinforce them. And I bet you know what we're going to do. I'm going to go straight down and just make sure it's vertical. It's going to go to the midpoint of that remaining section. And then we're going to turn our guides back on. And I'm sure you know how to do this. Okay, somewhere I'm missing a connection. There you go. You notice it happens to me too. It doesn't quite fill in, so just keep going until it does. And then at this point, I think you know the drill, guys. Push, pull it, make it a group. We've got the one. And let's turn off all the guides. We're going to copy it over. And in this case, I can grab various places to move it. But you know what? The way that I know it's set in place is if it's right in that notch. So that's where I want it to snap to. That's where I'm going to grab it to move it. Okay. Man, these are sensitive controls sometimes. So now it'll snap itself right in. And now again, to put everything in as a total group, I'm going to explode each of the three components. and then re-grab everything, color it, and we're done. Boom. We don't need that Howe truss. We have our own. How did you do that, Mr. A? Because I'm amazing. All right, I think you got the drill. If you're still watching with me, you're welcome, but I wouldn't be surprised if I'm alone at this point. I'm going to move it, and I'm going to make another copy. I'm just going to do this one more time. So if you look at the double Howe back there, we're just adding another 45 and then another vertical off that. So let's do it. I feel like I need some music in here while I'm working. I feel like the Bob Ross of construction. Okay, there's the first one. I think I'm just going to draw that second one, and they'll all be grouped together anyway, so. Sometimes it does not want to create a guide. I don't know why that is. All right, let's get rid of those guides and then pull these guys out. Notice you can go anywhere that you can touch that outside edge. It's gonna do that. Okay, all of that's gonna group together, which is fine. We're gonna move it over, and then we're gonna be done. Obviously, when you move it into that corner, it's not how it should be yet. Do the rotate. There's multiple ways you can do this. Let's see. I need to rotate it. Top of my head, what am I doing here? We're rotating at 180 degrees from the top view. So I would probably just use move. I'm going to look at the top and notice the little red pluses. They're on the front. If I click one of these, I don't know, will it help? Yeah, no, it looks like it's going to help, but notice it doesn't get us in the right oriented direction. So you need to go to the top and notice the pluses on the top. They'll give you a different direction to rotate, and that's the one you want. And then we can see, boom, looks good. And you know the rest. Explode your groups, recombine them, and you're done. Okay, last thing. Do your name conventions on all these guys. Give them all a name. I want to know, that's your vocab. So up above each one, just like I have here, line it up a little bit better, like I had originally. You know, you can just move all your little name tags above each guy. And then take your screenshot. There you go. All right, guys.